Hey guys, Matt from footballboots.co.uk, and today we'll be filming an all new type of video looking at the differences between sample and released boots. So we commonly get our hands on unreleased boots, which actually show some differences to what the actual release pair have when officially unveiled. So we thought it would be cool to show you guys the developments made by brands such as Adidas throughout the entire process of designing boots. We actually have a few sample pairs in our boot room, which we'll do comparison videos on in the following weeks. But the first episode of our new sample versus release series sees the Ace 16 Etch pack by Adidas Football take centre stage, so let's get into it. Just like our fake versus real videos, which you can check out on our channel, the differences may either be obvious or subtle. And after inspecting both these boots, here's the changes Adidas made from the original sample to the genuine release model. The most apparent difference is a very clear one, seeing the previous Ace 15 total control sole plate like on the samples, modified to the very popular sprint frame outsole, which was definitely a good idea from Adidas after the first gen Ace was criticised for not providing enough traction and saw players such as Mesut Ozil, Xabi Alonso and Philipp Lahm given personalised sprint frame versions after complaining of slippage on the pitch in that first Ace 15 total control version, which we can see here on the samples. They did make it with that total control sole plate with a lot of conical studs going on there. However, that actual Etch pack A16 that came out, it has that sprint frame with a lot less conical studs, a lot more responsive. Something really interesting is actually looking inside the boot at the label and seeing when they were actually manufactured. So for any of you guys wondering how fine advanced boots were designed and made, these sample A16 Etch packs date back to March 2015. As I just bring in the label here, hopefully you guys can see it has 03/15, which just shows that these were actually made in March 2015. That is even months before the launch Ace 15 model was unveiled and almost exactly a year prior to actually being released to this pair. This just shows how far in advance brands are in terms of boot releases. So the main reason for brands to produce sample boots so early before actually releasing them is to gain solid feedback from the headline stars, which can help them to modify the silo to produce a high quality performing product. A current sample pair of boots with big question marks over what they actually are a pair from Adidas, which Manchester United's James Wilson was spotted wearing, which you can see on screen now. Any guesses what they are can be left in the comment section below. Into further differences between these Ace Etch pack boots, and the detailing has been subtly changed at the Adidas 3 stripes on either side panel. So we can see that the 3 stripes on these actual A16 Etch pack boots that came out, we can see that it's a little bit thicker than what was on the sample pairs. So we can see here the Adidas stripes on the released pair. You can see that the upper itself, that leather, which is kind of a almost light brown colour, is a lot thicker and more intricate than what was found on the sample pair. Bringing the sample pair closer, we can see that the white little chevron designs in there are quite prominent throughout. Bringing in the released pair, we're going to see that the upper itself is coming through more prominent compared to that white chevron. So again, looking at the 3 stripes, we can just see that you can see the upper going through the lacing system here, and it actually goes over above that last eyelet and continues onto the heel liner here. However, on the release pair, we can just see that it's cut short. Just before that last eyelet, it cuts off, whereas on the sample pair, it did continue. So bringing both these boots in, hopefully we can see that the sample pair, it did continue all the way to that heel liner. However, onto the release pair, and it is cut short just of that last eyelet. So looking at the subtle differences still, we can see that the Ace logo, which has been applied on the top of the tongue, it's just white, it's filled in white, and you can see that they've etched in that upper as a border, and that's matched by the genuine leather on the lateral side panel heel cup. What they've done on the pair that was actually released is that they've actually gone all the way into the Ace logo, so we can actually see that the exposed upper is there, and also they've made that onto the genuine leather little logo here on the tongue, so that has been left absent of the lateral heel cup here. So they've made some little changes to the Ace logo and also the genuine leather logos, which is again a small touch, but something that they did opt to change. So a pretty big change, and also a slightly controversial one in my opinion, is that the sample pair of these Ace Etch boots actually had a slightly better upper than what they actually did release. So I'm just pushing my finger into the upper here, and we can see a lot of nice rippling effect going on. It feels really high quality, a little bit padded and cushioned, so you will get a really nice touch and feel on the ball. Bringing in the pair that was actually released, and it still does have that rippling effect, however it just feels a bit thinner. less plush, less quality, and it will still give you a nice touch and feel on the ball, but it's a little bit disappointing to see that Adidas opted to give it a different one, and in my opinion, a less quality one. So this next difference could be because of the sole plate change. However, on this sample pair with the Total Control sole plate, we can see that that final stitching line comes very close to the sole plate, almost joins onto it. However, the pair that was actually released, we can see that on the sprint frame sole plate is actually much more of a gap where that final stitching line is. Just bring them both close in together, and we can just see that there is definitely a difference there. It may be because of the sole plate, but these are both the same size, and we can see there is a slight difference there. So now looking at the inside of the boot, this boot is obviously the one that was released. It says that it is a sample inside the boot here, but this was actually the final version that did come out. So everything you see on this boot was the ones that were actually released from Adidas. And it is very soft inside. So although Adidas, they did opt to give it a slightly not as soft upper, they've actually given it a much softer heel liner than what you'll find on the sample pair. Again, it is that kind of faux suede material on this sample pair. It's a little bit rougher than what you'll find on the actual released pair. So this pair will give you a slightly bit more comfort than what you would have found in that sample pair. So when we actually received the sample pair of Ace Etch Pack boots, something that really stood out for us wasn't something that was going on with the upper or the sole plate, but looking inside the boot, and we can see that the tongue itself actually has some straps that meet with inside of the boot, which go down to the sole plate. So it does give you just a little bit more responsiveness maybe, but what's changed is that Adidas have actually opted to not put that on the pair that was released. We can see here inside the boot, we've got the tongue, and it's just attached by those lacing holes here. So it's not actually attached at all. So we didn't hear anything from Adidas to say why they actually put those straps in. I'll bring it in closer to the camera. They did have straps either side, however that wasn't actually on the pair that was released. So I've quickly taken out the sock liner of each, the released pair and the sample pair boots, just to have a look to see what was going on the inner sole plate here. And we can see on the sample pair, it's a very hard material. As I'm just tapping here, it feels very hard. It's a grey colour and it continues throughout the entire boot. Okay, so that was a sample pair. Bringing in the pair that was actually released, and we can see that there's a change in colour. It goes from a white material, it's a lot softer than what was in the sample pair, and then as we go into the boot, there's a plastic forefoot region here. So that's the sprint frame sole plate, that's what you get with the sprint frame. However, what was found on the Total Control was that grey, a lot harder, it's very hard to touch, and that is obviously a big difference, and that's something to do with the sole plate itself. So that brings us to the end of our very first sample versus release comparison video. Hopefully it's given you guys a better insight into the development of boots. As always, we'd love to hear your thoughts and comments about the video and what you guys think regarding sample boots. Thanks for watching guys, cheers.